Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Paxton, and joining me this evening is going to be Mr. Kevin Hobbie. We've had him on the show before, and I think you were actually our first guest that had like just a crap ton of views. I think at the time it was like 10, but that was exciting to us.
Right?
But you were like our first like star on the show. Um, but yeah, it's really good to have you back on the show. But how many times have you been on now? Is it just the 2 times now? Was this your second time, third time,
This will be
or
the
has it been
third,
more? Third? Okay, that's what I was thinking. Well,
maybe the.
uh, yeah, you might have popped in one of our like random live streams or something like that at some point. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, really really good to have you back on the show. What is your position in the LP now?
So I'm the vice chair of the OKLP, and then I'm the treasurer of the newly reconvened Central OKLP. So it's
Okay.
like the region within the state.
So did they have like a Central OK one before, and then it like
They
disbanded, and now it's back?
they did, but um, it just wasn't very active. Um,
I
I think
gotcha.
that they went like, man, I want to say it was like over a year without having like a single meeting.
Oh
And then
wow.
and so then like a couple of the people that were part of it, they had like an emergency convention, quote unquote, and then kind of like a non-hostile takeover took back the XCOM from them. So um, just to get it more active and stuff and going again.
Fair enough. I mean, that's kind of an important thing. Like did the chair there just kind of drop off the face of the earth, or?
Basically, yeah. I mean,
I
that's pretty
gotcha.
much what happened. Yeah, he got elected, and then I think that they did like two meetings, maybe, and
Hmm.
then he, for whatever reason, I'm sure he got caught up with other stuff or whatever, but
Right.
it just it wasn't working. Central Oklahoma is where our biggest grouping is. That's Oklahoma City, Norman, Moore,
Yeah.
Edmond, Yukon. Yeah, most of the big cities besides like Tulsa, Todd's area.
Right.
So
Is that a
it,
relatively common thing that happens?
no, not really. A lot of the smaller, usually the regions, it doesn't happen as much. Now we've had it happen with like the counties. The counties will kind of get together, and then it kind of fluctuates on how active they are or whatever. The problem with the counties is that it's so small. You're talking about like Cleveland County. Cleveland County started with like, I think there was like six of them total.
Oh wow.
And so it just makes it difficult if one drops out, then there's nobody there to pick up the slack, and it just kind of, I mean, for whatever reason, it just makes it harder.
Yeah,
um,
things happen.
yeah, the regions seem to be pretty active now. We have, like, I think it's the Northwest. We don't have anybody there. There's just not. I think there's only like one registered libertarian there. So
Hmm.
just not a big, that's like that Hooker area. I think that whole region only has like 30,000 people. So
I gotcha. See, we need to get the
yeah,
hookers in the Libertarian Party. It would make
I
sense.
know, right? You would think
Right.
that they would be, but they're just not.
They're voting Biden. I don't understand.
I don't either. Did you see that strip club? I think it's in Atlanta that has that Biden promo. Get your booty to the polls.
I have not seen anything like that.
It's
That's good
so
though.
funny. It's so funny. Dan Berman retweeted it earlier today and was like,
Hmm.
"I'm so upset that the libertarians didn't do this."
Right? Yeah. You
Yeah,
you would think they would. I mean, we've talked about the frustrations of the LP and stuff before. Like, there's so many missed opportunities. It's so frustrating sometimes. But at the same time, what a lot of people don't understand is like this. It's not the Republicans and it's not Democrats. We don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars coming our way. This is small communities trying to do all this stuff and really competing with very superior foes in terms of money and established numbers and well establishment in general. Uh, we're, we're
yeah,
we're definitely on the back footing as far as that type of stuff goes. But we've come a long way. I mean, from our roots. I mean, when would you say the libertarian movement really started picking up originally? Like 70s, 80s, somewhere around there? Or do you think earlier?
Well, I would think early '80s is when they really got like a good foothold and started going, and then it died off quite a bit for a little
Mhm.
bit, and then Ron Paul was kind of the revival of
Right.
it, and then it's just been kind of going since then, but in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, if you look at, we've only had ballot access to all 50 states for I think 8 years now,
Mm.
which is pretty. I mean, it's not a very significant amount of time, but we are gaining steam. I don't know if you saw, especially here in Oklahoma, we continue to have more elected officials. It's growing. It looks like Todd Hagopian's campaign is really picking up steam. I know that he just on the Google Trends, he just overtook the Republican that he's running against. He's being,
Yeah.
um, but so we're doing pretty good on that. They also released the average voter poll that came out of Okie polls. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
It was a pretty crazy deal. The average age in Oklahoma for a Republican voter is 52, and for a
Mm.
Democrat it's 53, and for a Libertarian it's 36.
Jesus, that
I
is a
know.
significant drop.
Yeah.
Man, that's not
Um,
even remotely close.
so
Does
we're
that
seeing a.
imply that they're just extremely old that are voting for the Democrats and Republicans, or do you think our base is just that young that's pulling it down so much?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that what you're seeing a lot of is most people in that, I don't know what you want to call it, not like the Gen X. A lot of them don't vote. If you look at, I
Mm.
think that in the last presidential election, like 47% of the state didn't vote at all. And
Mm.
so and most of that is in that range. Young people, I know that the saying is like young people don't vote, but most of the time when they're first getting the chance and first getting involved before they get, jaded, they do vote. So that gets brought down, but we're seeing a lot of growth. I know for the most part, our members, voting members, are way younger. Um,
Mm.
Even when you think of elected officials in both, you've got Chad. You know, Chad's not. I don't even think Chad's 40 yet.
Mm.
And whereas then you compare that to like really anybody in the Republican Party besides Nathan Dahm, they're all in their 50s, 60s. I mean, they're
And a
older.
lot of
Some,
them been doing it for a long time already.
yeah, for a long time. So, but that's one of the things that you get with the establishment, a lot. I saw a stat that Joe Biden has been an elected politician 19.8% of the time America has been a country.
19.8%.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, he's been an elected official. So that's pretty crazy to think that, you know,
I mean, he's been
um,
in there for entire lifetimes. Like
yeah,
for
I mean, yeah, he's been an elected official almost longer than my dad has been alive.
Man, that is just wild to think about. And what's really amazing to me, I don't know if it's just pure. I mean, I guess it is. It's got to be. It's got to be pure desperation and pure hatred for Donald Trump at this point that the Democrats are even thinking about Joe Biden because he's like anti everything that they're talking about at the moment, really.
Well, I think what you're seeing I think that what happened with Joe Biden is that the DNC, the Democratic Party is shifting more progressive, but I think that
Mm,
the DNC, as far as like their upper people, they're
yeah,
realizing that far left narrative is not the way to go. So they went with a moderate. I
right.
mean, like, there's a meme going around about Biden being Bush Light, and they have his face on like a Bush Light can,
Hmm.
but and I know that that's a funny meme, but it's really true. If you look at a lot of his policies, I mean, he's, he got a lot of flack because at a town hall they asked him about banning fracking because that's a big thing that the progressives are pushing right now, and he's not for that. I mean, you're basically, when you got somebody like Joe Biden, he's a moderate. He does have some progressive views, but I believe that the DNC wanted somebody like him, whereas
Yeah.
instead of embracing that progressivism that's taken over their party, they went with more of a moderate to try and pull that middle vote. Because the issue with Hillary was that she turned away so many of the moderates and the conservatives that they kind of had to try and go back the other way. But if I were part of the DNC still, I think that they would have done better to go more progressive with like a Mayor Pete, somebody like that, and really just embrace it and eat it up. Because what you had a lot of is a lot of the Bernie bros, a lot of those AOC supporters and stuff like that, Ilhan Omar, that those really progressives, they're not going to vote for Biden. You have that, there's that website, and like you can look it up. It's a real thing. It's a real movement within their party of settle for Biden. Let's settle for Biden. Settle for Biden. Yeah. And it's a legit thing. And so I think that was their plan. If I were to bet, that was kind of their plan, was they were going to push Biden, all the way through, because they like to tie him to Obama, but he's also more of a moderate for a lot of the old school blue dog Democrats and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
The problem is that they alienated most of their base, because most of their base are young, woke progressives, and they don't like Joe Biden. They don't like Kamala Harris. So I think that they really, if they were planning on Donald Trump winning again, if that was their strategy, they did a really good job.
Right. I mean, it seems like they're just handing this guy the election. Like, I feel like it's 2 times in a row. Like, there's no fucking way that Hillary Clinton was going to get elected. There's no way. And then this, like, they're just handing, like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories or anything, but it seems like they really want this guy to win for some reason. It's either like all the planets are aligning and they're just handing this off to Donald Trump because they, want that to happen for whatever reason, or they're just that bad about reading what's going on. And they have this idea that Joe Biden could actually win. I don't see it. The mental stability just isn't there. You got Donald Trump, like, especially the debate. I think that's going to be the defining factor where everybody really gets to see the strong differences between the two.
Yeah, but I've said the same thing. I think a debate is going to be really bad because Trump debates well, and he debates well because he gets people flustered. And when you've got somebody like Biden who gets easily flustered, I mean, it could really be bad. Biden is leading in a lot of the polls right now, but I think that's because he's kept his mouth shut for the most part. Every time that he comes out and says something, his numbers drop a little bit. But also, man, I don't know about a conspiracy about them wanting Trump to win, but I do believe they're already setting up this narrative of Trump's not wanting a peaceful transition if he loses, and these things like this. I believe, and especially if you look at, I've seen a couple of my progressive friends have been tweeting out about, the Democrats have won the popular vote I think the last 4 elections is what it is. Something like that. They're really trying to move away from this electoral college. And I think that it wouldn't surprise me if they knew that they couldn't beat Trump this time. So they're going with a moderate that's going to maybe win the popular vote so that they can push that narrative of doing away with the electoral college. That will never happen, obviously.
I think
but it would be a good strategy for them. Yeah, but doing away with the electoral college is the Democrats' version of voter IDs. The Republicans like voter IDs because people that vote Republican usually have IDs. A lot of Democrats don't, for whatever. Poor, they're poor, so they don't have driver's license. They don't want to go get an ID. They're in whatever that reason is. Voter ID tends to be a right-leaning thing, and I think that the electoral college is the progressives' version of that. They want to do away with that. I just don't ever see it happening. I think that you've got, because what'll end up happening is you'll see something like what we have in Oklahoma, like with these last couple of bills. You saw that overwhelmingly all of the counties outside of OKC and Tulsa voted against them, and then OKC and Tulsa, they voted for it, and so that's where the population is, so they won. So these 2 cities are now making decisions for a lot of rural farmers and things like that, and you don't ever want to get to a system like that.
I mean, Virginia is a really good example of that. They had the Second Amendment sanctuary cities map, and it was literally just dots of the two largest population cities
Yeah,
where all the laws were actually being obeyed and enforced by law enforcement. And then you had everything exterior of that where they were like, fuck that noise. We ain't doing that.
right. And
I mean, in a way, I almost think it's a good thing, though. I think it's good that we highlight these. I mean, uh, we're on two very different mindsets as far as like where we want things to go. I'm like an acceleration. I think there has to be violence at the end of the day for things to really come to a decisive end to get out of these authoritarian reigns. I don't think there's a way of voting our way outside of this at this point.
right,
And getting this very decisive split that we're seeing right now, it's getting us to the point where, I mean, it's not uncommon to have table talk discussions of civil war being a reality to like normal everyday people now.
yeah. I think that we're getting closer to it every day, especially now because when you have these different groups clashing in different
Mhm.
cities. Um, and like even what happened last night in Louisville with the police getting shot and stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
that um, I think that we are getting closer to that as these groups become more, tribal, more isolated, whatever. There's not really a middle ground. The issue with that is that 70% of Americans are somewhere in the middle.
Hmm.
Very few are, Tea Party conservatives, Trumpsters, or progressive woke liberals. I mean, there's just most people are not. Most people aren't involved.
It's
However, I
vocal
think it's like,
minorities.
yeah, I think it's what is it? I think it's 11. You only need 11% of the population. The government, is that what it is?
It depends on which thing you look at, anywhere from like 9% all the way up to 14%. Either way, it's not
Yeah,
that
I mean it's
much.
not very
I'll take
much.
it.
Yeah, it's not as much as what you would think. Um, so that omelet theory, like you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. I can see that viewpoint. I think that we're not. I don't think that we're beyond saving right now. I think that we could dig our way out. The issue that I see is we have to dig our way out. And so what's happening a lot though is we're spending a lot of time, especially we as libertarians are spending a lot of time, trying to be the most libertarian to ever libertarian without
Right.
actually like winning elections and things like that. Um,
Right.
if that it always makes me think of did you ever see The Newsroom? That old series on HBO?
Don't think so. Never had HBO.
There's a scene from it that's like there's a scene from it that's like replayed over and over again. People have a YouTube video of it. But anyways, so they have like a left and a right, a progressive and a conservative, and then they have this guy in the middle, and they're arguing back and forth, and then about why America is the greatest country in the world, and then he goes on this rant about why it's not the greatest country in the world. And
Naturally.
yeah, naturally, pretty good scene, not a bad series. Definitely more liberal leaning.
Hmm.
But anyways, so there's a scene in it where he says, why people hate liberals is because they lose. If liberals are so smart, why do they lose all the time? That's the way I feel about libertarians. Libertarians, because we lose.
Hmm.
Because we have all these answers, but we still lose elections. And we lose elections because we spend too much time fighting. You can look at what's happening with Joe right now. She's getting smashed for everything from every side about different things. She's getting smashed because she gave condolences to, RBG's family, which is ludicrous. She's getting smashed because, she had the Black Lives Matter thing. She's smashed because she's not the libertarian that other libertarians want. And it's that infighting. If we don't get that fixed, then there's going to be a lot more people that come to your side and see it that way of,
Well, here's
collapsitarian,
hoping.
whatever you want to call it. Here's hoping, right? But I
I
think
mean,
that
that's why.
we need to.
No, go ahead.
I think that we need to, if we have a chance of turning it back, it's now, and we need to get to work. We need to win
Mhm.
elections.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm always advocating for. I mean, within the LP, we've got to win a state. If we can't have control of a state where it's something like the House belongs to us. We have an executive in office, stuff like that, where we can actually put some of the libertarian principles in practice and show people that this stuff can actually work. Because for most of history, especially relatively modern history, this is all people have known. They know either the right and the left, and they know you pay your taxes, and that's just the way things are done. And the police speeding up on people, that's nothing new. You obey the law, you have nothing to hide, yada yada yada. The only way that we're really going to make long term, and this is what I've talked to Mike about and other libertarians that have come on our show. The only way I see us making any progress is if within the next year or two we can make a state libertarian, or at least a significant portion of that state libertarian. Because I think, especially if Trump wins re-election, now he's got 4 years where he doesn't have to worry about getting elected again. So all the executive office he's passed without having to worry about election, it's likely that he's going to go more rampant with his executive orders and not care that much about. He survived an impeachment, for fuck's sake. So I mean, what does this guy have to lose at this point?
Right. I think that people are. I would agree with you that we definitely need to win a state. I feel pretty good about Todd's campaign. I feel pretty good about Greg Sadler's campaign. Oh, I love Todd too. The beard, man. The beard makes him.
The beard really, right?
It really changed his look. It's so crazy. He looks way different. Did you see he made that post about Republican Todd, Libertarian Todd. He's got the beard. It's so funny. Yep. But yeah, I love Todd, man. He's so great. He's doing great things. He really is. I feel good about his election. If nothing else, it's going to be really crazy because he's going to have the first televised ads in Oklahoma for a libertarian candidate. I mean, it's pretty.
I'm very proud of him.
Yeah, it's a big deal. The thing about it is, though, that I think Oklahoma is easy. I think it's easy.
Yeah.
Easier to get people on the libertarian train in Oklahoma. I think that we need to win a state we need to win some elections in states like California or New York.
Right.
Even like Alabama, these states that are more, one way or another, almost totally set one way or another. Because for me, I feel like Oklahoma is an easy one. States like they've got the Frontier Project, with Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota. Those states are easy. I've been up here. One thing that's super crazy is, I'm up here in Montana, North Dakota for work. And, man, everybody knows what a libertarian is. Just right off the bat, you don't have to do any explaining. There's not any, everybody knows what a libertarian is.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they're very, but you're also talking about, very small population, very large area. So it lends itself to that more. In Oklahoma, you've got what makes Oklahomans so easy for libertarianism is they just want to be left alone.
Right.
So that's the easiest way to sell it. Now when you have your abortion and things like that, where it gets kind of murky if you're a libertarian trying to win an election. But for the most part, I think Oklahoma was primed for it. I think that we're going to win a couple of elections coming up. But I do agree that we need to take a state. We need to. These city council spots are a good deal, but we need something bigger. Even if we could just get, a house seat or something and go that way, I think it would be good. But we need more than, because if you look at Amash, so Amash is the only libertarian, on a federal level.
Right.
And he can't get anything done because he's the only one.
Right. All he can do basically is vote no and feel like a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you're basically, and I love Justin. He's great. But all he can do is virtue signal at this point. There's not enough, it's hard to get something done because not only is he the only one on a federal level, but he's so much higher than everybody else. Because we don't have any House reps, we don't have any state reps, we don't have any senators, we don't have anything like that. So even if he had a couple below him that he could draw on to get some support, but he's the only one.
Yeah.
I think it's rough. I think it's a rough go. But we definitely
don't have an easy fight ahead.
We don't. But we're also not doing ourselves any favors.
Yeah. I mean, I think with the new leadership in the LP, I think that'll make a big difference, and especially after the election cycle. We were talking about this the other night. I think after the election cycle and everything, we'll really get to see what the new head for the LP is going to be able to like achieve, and where they're going to direct the LP and stuff like that. And I think that's going to be the real big defining factor of how much the LP can achieve in the next year or two, before we really have to start preparing for another election cycle.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I'm really curious to see what JBH is going to do. I've been rather surprised by some moves that he's made since he came on. Pleasantly surprised, because I thought that he was kind of going to be like Nick Jr. That was kind of my opinion of him. I've been pleasantly surprised that he's not, that he's kind of making some moves that are against that. He's doing some things that I can agree with. But we'll see. We'll see how he does. I know that we also elected a lot of other people on the XCOM, and I think that they're
right.
They're going to make some changes. I think it'll be good overall. I'm just curious if BH takes it. I think us separating from Nick is a great thing. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I would like to see some more people like Maj, some more of those guys on the XCOM. I'd like to see Todd on the XCOM, maybe like Rex Lawhorn on the XCOM. That would be great.
There you go.
So we'll see.
Get the dream team going.
Yeah, I mean that really is. I mean, that's a good team. Those Mises guys. I know that it's made up of a lot of prags right now.
Right.
With the exception of Josh. And I'm not a Mises guy, but I think that having that diversity there, would be good for us. And get away
go ahead.
from Nick. That was the main thing.
Yeah.
Getting away from Nick, that was the main thing.
Said a good quote the other night. I think it was on Tim Pool's podcast, or maybe it was afterwards on his Twitter. I watch him so much I kind of blur his words together. But he said that he in his mind, the elites are trying to get us to fight a civil war, a war between each other, because they don't want us to have another revolutionary war where we realize that the true enemy is against the states, the elites, things of that nature. They want us to fight right and left, rather than realizing that there's authoritarianism and anti-authoritarianism, freedom, liberty. They don't want us to realize that. They would rather us send our resources, spend our energy on each other and trying to argue over economic policies and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they're communist or fascist at the top. They're still an elitist crew at the top.
Well, yeah, and the evidence for that is the way that we fight wars. Most of the time we don't go in and do it ourselves. We arm the forces and escalate tensions until it comes in and kind of crumbles. That's what we did in Libya. That's what we've done in Syria. We've done it in a couple of different things. Sometimes it comes back.
You mean nation building?
Ass, like it did with Osama bin Laden. Because nation building. Sorry, I used the wrong term. But yeah. So it's not surprising that would be the strategy that they would take. But sowing discontent is kind of always the government thing. You can look at like was it Operation North Pine, where they were going to blow up that airplane and blame it on the Cuban immigrants.
I mean, like Lusitania. Like stuff that goes way back. They think that potentially that was a government job as well. Spanish-American War, all that stuff. Who knows? I was reading a thing the other day where they were talking about the Zimmerman telegram might have just been an excuse for us to get involved. Like it was something that they made up completely. Who knows? We don't know.
Really?
There's so many shady things out there. And there's so many times they're like, nah, that's y'all look crazy. That's a conspiracy theory. There's no way that's true. And then like 6 months later, they released the documents like, yeah, actually, we were selling child slaves.
Yeah, we were actually doing that. Yeah, why that's how people like Alex Jones get, because they even though they sound crazy, they get shit right. And
right, it's wild. I was watching a thing about that the other day, and it's like going through the list of all the things, like him doing his rants and stuff, and then it's like, and this is the evidence to back it up that came out almost a year later. It's like, no, don't make him right.
Yeah, and he sounds crazy about some things, but yeah, like the Bohemian Grove was his first big thing, and he would go on those rants and be like, "They're all out in the woods in California worshiping an owl," and everybody's like, "Oh, he's totally crazy," and then he brings video ends of it.
Oh man, you gotta love him.
Oh yeah, I mean it's great, but so it's not surprising. I would have to agree with Maj there. I mean it makes more sense. The other thing about that is not only does it keep the masses kind of entertained fighting amongst themselves, but it also radicalizes people more. And the more radical people get, the more tied they are to their ideology, to their group, their God, whatever you want it to be. And so that's why you have these people that's why you have Trumpism, and that's why you have, the worship of AOC and Bernie Sanders and all of those people, because they become deities within their own groups,
Right.
And so the more that you radicalize it, the more people will buy into it, because there's nothing that unites people like a me. So as long as they can say, well, the enemy is those people, and instead of like, oh, it's me, then that works the best for them. It's always, it always reminds like the Nightmare Before Christmas. The mayor, he's got two heads and he spins around different ways. That's the best analogy ever for any government official.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the crazy thing about like America as a whole. Like one of the great things about our nation is we will spend 10, 20 years slitting each other's throats back and forth over economic policies, but then you have something like 9/11, and then we're like, okay, well, let's put down everything and we'll go take over a couple of countries. And I mean, that was kind of just like an accepted thing across the board. Bush's approval ratings were through the roof for it. Everyone for once had a unified enemy. And granted, we kind of went to the wrong places, and we now know it's Saudi Arabia. But it's just three countries that we collapsed. It's fine.
We kind of knew that. Yeah, we kind of knew that at the time too. But yeah, so you have that common enemy, and right after the collapse of the USSR, we didn't really have an enemy. So that's why we had to create this war on terror. And the great thing about terror, if you just use that term, you can blanket it for anything. It can mean Iraq, Iran, Qatar, Syria, Libya. It can mean whatever you want. If they would have called it like a war on radical Islam, which is what it essentially was, then, or a war on brown people, then it wouldn't have the same ring, because when you use that term, the war on terror, it's like the war on drugs. You can just assign that to whatever you want. And it can go on for forever. I mean, what are we, 60 years into the war on drugs now?
Oh shit! Yeah, man, I didn't even think about that. It's weird thinking it's 2020. Jesus.
I know. Yeah, I saw something. Somebody had made a post about like that moment that you realize 1995 wasn't 10 years ago.
It bothers the crap out of me. I was born in 95, and so I got so used to thinking like that, and now we're in 20. Oh man, I don't like it. It's not okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we have to develop.
The USSR was still a thing.
Oh Jesus.
I know.
Man, that's wild. But it collapsed in 91.
91, yeah. I think Gorbachev started the what did they call it? The desegregation. Yeah, in 89, and then it was finally done in 91.
I gotcha. But man, yeah, it's just wild to think, like, how much of it is just. The real question is like, how much of this is like actually real? How much of this stuff is actually things that are like really happening, and not just things that our government is putting in front of us and making bigger deal out of than it is, like a coronavirus. Like I think that's a good example, because they're kind of we've got all these mandates and stuff like that, and they're encouraging all that stuff. But then you go to places like Sweden, which the socialists like to use as examples all the time, and they don't have any mask going on or anything like that, supposedly. So it becomes a question of, how much of our news is real, and especially since all the news outlets are, it's
Conglomerate.
Yes, that word.
Yeah. I question a lot of that too. That as far as like what we're being fed versus, because you only see it's like a magician. You only see what they want you to see. But
right.
As far as Sweden being the socialist paradise and all that, that's something that really irks me, because if you look at Sweden,
oh yeah,
and that Nordic model, they have a more free market, more capitalist society than we do. They have no minimum wage.
Man.
They have less restrictions on their government. They have a super, super free market. And then but they use it to fund an extremely strong social safety net.
Denmark is still a constitutional monarchy. Norway is rich off of oil. What they did, and it's very smart, don't get me wrong, but what they did is they basically took their profits off of oil and they put it into like I don't understand the full economic policy of it, but they basically put it into like a public stock fund, and they're literally paying all their socialist stuff off of the profits off of their oil stock thing that they have, which is wild.
Well, that's the way that most of it works,
Yeah, but none of it's fucking. It's not socialism. None of it is. Like, they have socialist policies, but none of it is communist aligned economics or anything like that. It's not happening.
No, they're funding an extremely strong social safety net by having, capitalism, but it's not socialism. It's not even anywhere close to it. Their model, they don't even have a minimum wage.
Yeah.
That's a real.
That's the good stuff. We should just move to Sweden. The women there? Are you kidding me?
I think that. I don't know.
What's up, Mike?
Is this working? Am I here now?
Yeah, unfortunately. I was having a nice conversation.
Hi. And now I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, what I was going to mention is, I don't know if you knew this or not. You know what a boog is, right? Boog boy.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are listed as terrorists. They're actually teaching people in the military that they're a terrorist organization. They are teaching military. Yes.
Actually,
yes.
Really?
We have actual military people that I've spoken to personally where they're teaching them that they're a terrorist organization. Yeah. That if you see a guy identifying as a boog boy, that they are a terrorist organization. Yeah. The National Guard, before they were deployed, we've got a whole bunch of accounts of them stating that they were told that boog boys are a terrorist organization and stuff like that. So,
I didn't know they actually put that down though.
No
I
shit.
thought that was just rumor.
We've got a whole bunch of reports from National Guards and stuff like that talking about it. Former military guys talking about it, because they got all the circles and stuff in there.
That's ridiculous.
So they've labeled Antifa and boog boys as terrorists.
Yes. I don't know if it's officially on the terrorist list like Antifa, but they are teaching the military that they are.
That
so
they're a danger or something? That's not
essentially
good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, because they've kind of hijacked the term anarchist.
Putting it into they've been putting it into the narrative. And I've been telling everybody, look at what they're doing. And they're like, no, they're not. But it gets worse every fucking week. And people are buying this shit. Like, now I have people being like, well, of course you like this. You're an anarchist. That means you want craziness. And I'm like, wait, okay. The one thing I've had to ask people over and over again is, would you please, without copy pasting one of the many definitions I've gotten really used to seeing copy and pasted at me, would you just explain to me real quick what anarchism is? Please, just tell me what it is real quick in your own words. And honestly, that just gets me blocked usually, because they don't fucking want to do it. But people don't know what's going on, and they're just taking it straight from the freaking hands of the media.
Yeah, I just want my chickens to be left the fuck alone. That's what anarchism is.
Right, but they're using that term. That's the new hot button. They're using it for
anarchy.
Yeah, anarchy.
extremists.
Didn't Trump even use that specific term?
He's
like these were anarchy.
He's used it a couple of times. He said, that these ants in these cities overthrowing, and then he'll do his random law and order thing, which is really crazy because he tweets it like every 8 hours. He'll just randomly throw out like a law and order. But yeah, so it doesn't surprise me that they're turning the Boog Boys. That's going to be a new thing. Any group like that threatens them, they're going to make it into
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, exactly.
Hello, Phil. Yeah. I mean, any group.
Where are my CIA weapons deals? I want my cocaine, like, right now. Where are my deals?
I'm sure we'll get them eventually.
Right. Like all of these things, though, that they bring up, like I want to know where mine is because, we've got.
They're sliding libertarian in there.
Yeah,
they're doing it.
The Democrats,
I've seen it all across the news.
Yeah, the Democrats are saying that, that the libertarians are being paid off by Putin in order to throw the election. I see that all the time. That like when they started that trending that I'm with her and Joe, not Joe, and all of that, throwing it out there like, oh well, these are Russian assets and all this, but like I haven't got my check.
Where's my check?
Dude, if you get a libertarian taking money from an authoritarian, they're probably not a libertarian.
Did you guys see that?
No, not at all.
Antifa protest where they were like chanting "Where's my money?" because of the thing going around where they were like Soros is paying Antifa. They were like, "Where's our money?"
Oh yeah. You know what I love? I love that they're using.
It's a big joke everywhere. All of it's a joke. Like, it's just a narrative that they are using to spin us against each other.
Oh yeah, 100%. I also love anytime that the groups are organized. So like they've been posting the videos of the people that rented that U-Haul truck and showed up with the signs and the shields and all of that, and they're like, "This is proof that they're being funded." Man, like if you're getting funding from somewhere and the best thing that you can come up with is some OSB plywood from Lowe's.
Yeah, when I saw those shields, my first thought was, wow, are there SCA people there?
Yeah. I mean, it's just some people that are it's just some people that are arts and crafting in their basement and throwing it together. They rented a U-Haul, just because they're getting more organized. Yeah. So, but anything to discredit those groups, and it's funny that like anarchist is becoming this negative term now. I think that that's really crazy because you've got, for a long time, it was kind of one of those unknown philosophies, of like what an anarchist is, but now they're just assigning it. Anarchist is the right's version of Nazi. Everybody on the left calls anybody that doesn't agree with them a Nazi. Now everybody on the right is going to call anybody that doesn't agree with them an anarchist. And it's really going to piss off anarchists and Nazis. So,
well, they're still calling people commies too, though. So like,
I get called the commie all the time.
Like, the right will call you a commie, the left will call you a Nazi, and they're both going after anarchists. Like I've seen Biden even pick up the rhetoric himself.
I'm not gonna lie. One of my favorite things to do is find somebody that's a Trump supporter and get in an argument with them and call them a commie at some point in the argument. Like, oh, you support the police, you socialist scum.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one. I love the. I love when
calling them socialists. I love that shit.
Oh, that's so funny. I love when you've got you'll see some people that are like they support Trump because he supports the 2A rights, and it's like, oh man, really? So you must have supported Obama? And it's like, no. Why would I support Obama? He was anti-2A. Well, can you tell me one thing that he did? Well, no, not really. Well, I can give you a whole list of things that Trump has done. He's done more infringes on the 2A than any president before him besides Clinton with the assault ban. But it's just, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, though. Like they're a cult figure. They're a deity within that. And the more that they drive that up, the more separation that they get and the less that, we look at them. Because right now you've got, if you look at even within the Libertarian Party, not so much, but even within the Libertarian Party, whatever party you're in, they look at elected officials as being more than a normal person, more than, there's something more, not godlike, but whatever that is, and you get that cult persona, that personality worship. Trump is a really, really good example of it. But I also think that Biden is. I think that a lot of those officials are. AOC, Hillary. Hillary was probably more than Trump. I mean, people just refuse to accept the facts.
Kamala Harris in there with him was like the biggest slap in the face to them. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like,
it was desperation. Who the fuck else wanted to join
in
Biden?
the middle of all of this, they pick fucking Kamala Harris, like the police brutality queen of America.
Yeah, but they see a black woman is what they see.
Yeah, even though she's not. She's Indian. You guys know that,
thought
right?
that she's not black. I thought she was taking credit for being the Indian lady in the government.
Well, she did at one point. It's like Elizabeth Warren.
Just like Elizabeth Warren.
She was the first woman of color to teach at Harvard.
That's good stuff.
I'm pale as
she was. It's true. They wrote articles about her, the first woman of color.
That woman's crazy. Oh my god.
Okay, before we go down this cult of personality, that's always a good time. Why don't you tell us what you think about the Breonna Taylor stuff, so we can be mad collectively.
Let's all get mad again. I'm gonna get some coffee.
Let's all get mad again. As far as that goes, I haven't really changed my position in the whole thing. I think that no-knock warrants are terrible, and anything that happens as a result of them it's all going to be bad. I think that these charges that they've brought up are ridiculous, but I'm actually surprised that anybody's getting charged for anything in it.
I think that was their blood sacrifice.
You think so?
And even then, it's not even that bad. Like the crowds are kind of demanding, like, sacrifice your first newborn son, and the court decided, well, let's just slit their palm, and maybe that'll be enough blood for the blood gods.
Right. Well, I think it's
not even close.
Hardcore though.
I know. Now we can go around telling everybody that the apartment building next door got more justice than Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really not sure that was what they were going for, but that's what they get now, because that's what people are saying, and I'm one of them, and it's jacked up. And there's still people out there supporting the system. I had someone today go, well, if you were wronged by the police when you were young, you should report it. They'll fix it now. And I'm like, you fucking call the cops. I swear to God.
We should make t-shirts, Justice for Apartment Building.
I was like, I would rather shoot myself than call the police to help me at this point. I might as well just go ahead and shoot myself and my neighbor's dog and anybody else who's of any minority at all or gay near me.
The Maj actually talks about this last night with Tim Pool as well. I don't know if you know this, but yeah, you do. It's actually really good. It was like 2 hours long. I've never seen him do a Timcast that long.
I have.
And Maj was doing just fucking killing it. I mean, he was just slaying the liberty movement, and they don't, agree. Tim Pool's kind of we'll say, cuck? Yeah. Well, he says milquetoast, but same difference.
He used to be milquetoast. Now he's a cuck.
Regardless, that's not what we're not here to talk about. That, Mike. Jesus.
Fine.
God, every fucking reporter's hurt your feelings. I got it. Stop liking people, and then you won't be hurt all the time.
Luke Olkowski has not hurt my feelings.
Okay, that's no problem, Kevin. We're good.
Yeah, I'll be right back, guys.
Oh shit.
What? What's wrong with you?
My internet's really bad and everything keeps stuttering, so I was checking to see if I was still here.
Okay, so
apparently I am. So what are we going to talk about?
Last night, Mike, I'm going to punch you. Stop fucking talking. Jesus fuck. Last night, Maj was talking to Tim, and they were going over the court case with Breonna Taylor, and they were talking about how Supposedly it was not a no-knock warrant, that they went there, knocked, announced their presence, that there's people that are even backing that it was not the cops that... Mike, shut up. I swear to God.
It was a sneeze.
I wish the police were here. Oh my God. So they were saying that it was not the police that shot first, that it was the guy that shot first, and yada yada yada. And Maj just made a really good point. We're getting that from the fucking government, the same people that lied about the CIA Contra scam controversy, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, these are the same people that have that are more than okay with taking out U.S. civilians if it means furthering their cause. We can't fucking trust what they're saying. They're going to say whatever the fuck they want to say, whatever makes people happy. We have no idea what is true or is not true. Even if, let's assume for a second that they're being 100% truthful and that is in fact the case. They did all of this over the drug war. They did this over drug charges. Not fucking hurting anyone. These people were not going outside shooting other people. Now there's potentially, the police officers could have hurt somebody that was completely uninvolved because they decided they wanted to shoot like fucking crazy. But instead, we've also got Breonna Taylor that is dead, and we've got a police officer that's wounded all over the drug wars. And now we have 2 police officers shot due to the riots that came afterwards. Like, the drug war is hurting people.
Yeah, that's it.
It is causing harm.
All of this is because, like, there would be no Breonna Taylor at all, period, if it wasn't for this pointless drug war. Completely. All of it is because of a fucking victimless crime.
Yeah, I mean, if 2 consenting adults want to fucking exchange cocaine, whatever the fuck, then by all means, I think they should have every right to do so, just as much as I think you have the right to trade bottles of whiskey or trade bottles of, trade containers of weed, trade bottles of prescription pills. I don't give a shit. It's 2 consenting adults. You should be able to have the freedom to exchange whatever the fuck you want to exchange. If we can trade bottles of whiskey, if you can go into Walmart now and buy bottles of alcohol, I don't see why it is unfathomable for us to, 1, why weed is not legal by now, and 2, why we're still having this massive drug war. Why do people have such a negative connotation on drugs, but alcohol is okay? It makes no sense to me. We had a whole fucking thing about this. We had prohibition, and while the prohibition went way too far into the extreme, they did make solid points. Alcohol is bad. It is bad for your health. It does impair your decision making. It has caused many accidents. We've had plenty of people that have been killed by drunk drivers. And even then, we're not going back the opposite way and doing prohibition like we are doing on drugs. So why then are we still having the drug war? It makes no sense.
Money. It's money.
It's all about money. It's all about funding. I mean, when you talk about comparing alcohol to drug use, which you guys need to have Drew on, the Clean Libertarian last podcast. He was talking about.
I really want to get him on. We've been talking about that forever.
Yeah, we really need to invite him on to chat. We really do.
I've been meaning to go to the bar with him.
You guys really need to. He is. You guys listen to his podcast?
I haven't yet. I actually have it on my playlist though.
Like, I've got so many podcasts I listen to that I have to I just kind of grab one here and there. So I have dipped into, but not regularly.
Is he episode 2 yet, or is it still episode 1?
No, he's on episode 12 now.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah, I guess it's been a while since I looked at it then.
Come on, Paxton. Are you living under a fucking rock? Jeez.
I wish, man. That's my ideal sanctuary.
His whole thing is about the drug war and things like that. And he was talking about, I'm going to butcher the statistic, I'm sure, but you need to get, but I think it was the alcohol consumption pre-prohibition was, I think it was 11.8 liters per household per year is what it was prior to prohibition. And then after prohibition, it was 10.9.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Same year that they ended. So it never really dropped off. And now we're down to 7.2. So it trails off on its own. And as far as drug consumption, things like that, it's probably along the same lines. However, there's a lot of money to be made off of the war on drugs. I mean, that's one of the number one funding things of most police departments, of most municipalities, things like that. So I don't think that we'll ever end it, because I don't think it's, at this point, I don't think that it's about stopping the war. I don't think it's about stopping drugs. I think it's about funding government programs.
I don't think it ever was about that shit. Yeah, exactly.
Why can't we just go back to the old-fashioned ways of making money, which is kicking the shit out of some evil empire and having the falling nations pay us reparations for the next 100 years?
Maybe we ran out of evil empires.
Well,
maybe we're the evil empire now.
No. Evil empires would have to have, military bases everywhere and force countries to comply by military force.
Yeah, we're probably the evil empire, dude. We're the next Nazis.
Do you see the government forcing people to do whatever they tell them to do, or else face death?
Taking us and China out. World War III is going to be taking us and China out.
Fuck, I hope so. Do the world a favor.
Russia will become the new America.
Hey, at least they have bears. Their bears are cute. They do like circus tricks and stuff. Do we have American bears that do circus tricks?
Yeah,
military bears.
Oh yeah.
Fuck your military bears. But are they American bears?
If you go to
only if it's consenting.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, there are bears in Oklahoma.
Yeah, there's stories and we got bears all over America.
Yeah, if you go to Hugo, Oklahoma, that's where the circus. That's the circus town, because that's where the circus would go in the off season. They have a bunch of those trick bears there in the winter.
So what you're saying is they have a whole bunch of Russian spies.
Yes, 100%.
I gotcha. All bears are secretly Russians. Everybody knows that.
Oh my god! If you were
have you seen this? Have you seen this well?
More often, you hear all these stories about all these bears coming in people's yards and shit here in Arkansas. They just get up in the yard, or they'll get out in a parking lot, and people have to chase them out the parking lot. Bears are just everywhere.
Yeah, they are. Have you guys seen the Russian spy whale?
No. What in the hell is that? You're always telling me about really weird animals doing things. Now you're going to tell me about a fucking spy whale? Okay.
There's a Russian spy whale. Look it up, Google it, and watch the videos of it. It's so crazy. They found this whale. I think it's a Norca whale, whatever it is. It's they found it out by itself, and it had this harness attached to it. And the harness was made by this manufacturer, and they couldn't get a hold of the manufacturer. And now there are there's a YouTuber named Slightly Sociable. He did like a 10-minute video over this Russian spy whale and all the data that they were able to collect on it and stuff. And now they have aerial images of these facilities where these Russians are training these whales to, and what they use them for is they have cameras that they attach to them, right? And it has this weird little hook looking thing, and that whale, you can look it up, there's videos of it. It will just randomly come up to people and play fetch. You can throw stuff because that's what they trained it to do. But it's totally isolated by itself. It doesn't have any. Yeah, dude, it's so crazy.
Just when you thought Russia couldn't get weirder, they're training whales.
Russia's pretty wild.
Well, we had, was it bats?
I mean,
bats were what we were going to use.
We've used all kinds of things.
That's what happened.
The World War II, we were trying to train
that
bats.
was a trained government bat coming after Joe.
Yeah, that's true. The government bat that came after Joe. But we were going to use bats to burn down buildings, right? They were going to.
Yeah, but they ended up burning. Yeah, but didn't they end up burning down our buildings? So we decided not to go with that or something.
No, Mike,
I'm sure
you're wrong.
Something was wrong with it.
They never went with the plan with the bats. Bats have been used plenty of times in warfare, but yeah, we tried to do it in World War II to the Japanese, but we were firebombing the shit out of them already, and they're like, oh no, this is doing plenty.
Right.
Well, wasn't there a famous woman that just tied coals to pigeons or something?
Olga of Kiev. I was actually just going to talk about that fucking story. It's pretty badass. but yeah, so I don't remember exactly what happened, but basically she was supposed to. It was a young woman in Russia or Kiev, modern day Ukraine, and she was supposed to get married off to this noble guy in a foreign land, and she was like, "Sure, I'll marry you, but I demand a appropriate escort for somebody that's going to be queen of this land or whatever." And so he was like, "All right, I'll send my entire council down there." And so the council comes down, and she ends up like executing them all viciously and like burying them in the ground or something while they were alive, and then sending a letter and being like, "Hey, I'm going to be on my way, but in order for me to like make my grand appearance, I'm gonna need a pigeon or whatever the fuck kind of bird from every single person's house." And so she took all the fucking birds, attached strings with coal chunks on it or something like that, and then sent them back to the houses and caught the entire city on fire.
I think she had more help than that in the story. I remember like it was like some of her people helped her do that or something like that. I
No,
don't
this was
remember
one
that being
individual
accurate.
woman doing all of
No,
this,
I
Mike. That's
don't
not what
think.
I meant. That's not what
No,
the story's
that's
about.
not what happened.
Oh my
No,
god.
I'm pretty sure that's
Smoke
not
your
what
weed.
happened.
Smoke your weed. Leave the historical stories to me.
I'm pretty
Kevin,
sure that's not what happened.
Kevin, what do you think about the Boog movement?
He's like, let's change the subject.
Yeah, let's change the subject to the boog. And my issue with the boog, there's two things with it. One, I think that like 80% of the people that are quote unquote boog boys probably couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper sack and have no gun training whatsoever. But the ones that are actually involved with it need to be better organized, because what will happen is if a boog does occur, you're going to have chaos, which is going to be exactly like what happened with the Black Flag movement and the Bolshevik Revolution. Then you'll have socialist and better equipped groups, better organized groups coming in to offer security in exchange for whatever. And so that's what will happen. That's what happened with the Bolsheviks. They basically erased the fact that anarchists were the ones that started the whole revolution and did most of the legwork, because the populace was they were all too ready to give up their rights in order to have a little bit of security.
So I always use like Ukraine as like modern day example, because that's the closest thing. Like this country to this day is still fractured into these various different groups. You even have supposed Nazis that have little pockets locked down, and it's just this tutorial gang warfare still going on over there.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it's going to be like. You're going to have various groups of different ideologies, and they're going to be locking down areas, and different groups are going to get different funding, different equipment, and all that stuff. But the Boog, especially whenever you have groups of 6 guys, let's say, in little cities scattered across the nation, and it's not just one territorial mass, that makes things all the more complicated.
Right.
And it really comes down to what will be causing the quote unquote Boog moment. Like, is it going to be the state coming after guns? Because if that's the case, then the enemy is a lot more obvious. You have the state, you have police, things of that nature that you have to fight against. But what if it is like a civil war moment? Like, what if it's Trumpsters going after these socialists? You can't just have the Boog
moment.
I
think it will 100% be that. I think that it will be the latter. I think that groups like that identify.
Well, yeah, but in that case, we're not getting a Boog, because the Boog's not a civil war. It's a fucking.
The Boog will have to activate during the Civil War.
If the Civil War happens, we may not get the Boog, or we'll have to fight everybody on every side, and that means we'll probably all die. That sounds like fun. Yay!
At least I don't have to vote.
At least I don't have to vote.
At least you don't have to vote.
Or I mean, like, we could stop arguing about economics. If there is
one, it will stem from that.
And get some bottom unity going on out
here. Do what?
We could all stop arguing about economics and get some bottom unity going on out here.
Well, that's what Kevin was talking about earlier.
I'm all about that. Yeah. I think
I saw somebody say something on Twitter, and I could not retweet it hard enough. Because they were like, if y'all hate the capitalists and the communists more than you hate the state, then I don't know what you're doing out here. And I'm like, exactly. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah, well, I mean, One thing that we need to have, though, I was actually tweeting about this here not too long ago, because so we do have, there are a lot of anarcho-socialists, a lot of libsocs in that group, and then you have like your ANCAPs, your paleos, and stuff like that on the right. But what we don't have is a lot of center-left libertarian groups. If you're a left libertarian, you're pretty much lumped in with libsocs. So you have people like me who, like, on the little quadrant, I'm just slightly to the left, not even, barely even one tick over. And I think
bet
that
you
if
get
that
treated
group,
like a redheaded stepchild some days, though.
most days, yeah. Well, it's crazy because, like, depending on what group I'm talking to, I'm either a soy boy communist or a fucking Nazi. So whatever. But so I think that there's an opening there for like a slightly left group. So like a Thomas Paine-esque group. I think that needs to happen, but we also need to get like you said, more bottom unity, that type of thing. But we have to, I think that will come with winning elections. We have to win elections to figure out like what is what, because right now we're just basically it's like wrangling cats, everybody's kind of going their own directions. Everybody has their own ideas, and that's okay because we don't really know what works right now. But the people that are more focused on arguing over economic policies or whatever, that those are the ones that I fear that they won't get a lot done. Although I do think that discourse like that is good for the party. I think that having people, debate back and forth, it's just if that's your main focus, is talking about how, throwing commies from helicopters is the only thing to do, or whatever the left version of that is, which I'm sure there is. I just don't know. I think that you're just wasting your time. Punch a Nazi,
Bashing
that's it.
fascists. Bash the fash.
Bashing fash.
Bash the fash. That always just sounded dirty to me. I'm not gonna lie.
It does. Like, it doesn't sound like anything
I'm
other than.
strangely comfortable with the idea of it.
You're strangely comfortable with the idea. That's hilarious.
Can we pull up a JREG video, Mike?
I don't know.
What?
I mean, my connection is shit. If you want to do it, you totally
I don't know how.
can.
Oh, well, I guess you can screen share. Well, there's just this JREG video that reminds me of.
Have you ever heard of JREG?
Does political shit posting.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, he does political satire, and he does like anti-centrist shit posting. It's weird. He has a series called Centricide, and basically all the characters are different, are like personified political ideologies. So you have the Nazi and the communist and like he's red and the Nazi's blue, and you have like the green ANCOM and the yellow ANCAP, and then you have ANCAPistan where you have like the minarchist and the Hobbie.
Mike, you're going too much into this. Okay.
It's good shit though. I'm just saying, check out the whole series later if you get a chance.
We're gonna do this. Let's see.
And it's called JCam.
We just JREG.
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 Okay, are you guys ready?
Yeah. We're just gonna watch other people's YouTube videos now. I can't hear it.
Can any of you hear it?
I can't.
Okay. Well, shit. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how we can stream the thing and also have the audio go through, Mike.
I don't know either. Usually I just upload a video and you don't have the Drake videos all downloaded.
No, I don't. Oh, well. Well.
We suck. This doesn't work.
I'll check it out.
Well, we'll try. I'll post it in the comments so all can enjoy.
Yes. We just gave Dreg a free commercial to like a few people, probably.
Anyway, he says eviscerate vulvas, and I think it's funny.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
He says a lot of shit, though. He says a lot of really funny shit. Funny, y'all were talking about the anarchists getting betrayed by the communists. He has a clip in there, and they're like, it's the ANCOM and the communists are together, and they're with their left unity, and they've won. And the ANCOM's like, I'm still gonna bitch at you every time you mess with people's rights or blah blah blah. And the other guy's like, it's okay, we can deal with that later.
Right.
It's a romantic comedy.
Just enjoy the flowers and see what we have, finally won. And soon we'll be working the land together, and everything will be at peace. And the ANCOM turns around and he's like, oh yes, it's so good. And the communist is like pulling out a gun.
Yeah.
And he's like, just look at the flowers, ANCOM.
Oh, like The Walking Dead? Just look at the flowers?
Oh my god.
That's
I don't understand the leftist unity thing. That shit bugs the crap out of me. Like, how could people who are against the state work with the people who are for the state and think it's not going to dick them over?
I don't know. That it's bottom and top unity is easier for me to understand than left or right.
Yeah. I mean, top unity seems hard because they're so stringent on what's their idea and what's not their idea, though. Like, they're not built.
Yeah, but they're all for the state. I mean, I think that our government is a great example of top unity.
Are you kidding? I think they're all in the blue square, even though they pretend to be like left leaning and shit.
Mike, don't get into this, Mike. Don't get into the squares.
Okay, fine. I'm just saying. I won't.
All the squares make a circle. All the squares make a circle.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we go to our next topic? Police reform. So all these stuff, like, let's say Kevin, being a libertarian, you become the dictator of the United States overnight. What is the first police reform that you're doing?
What's the first one?
Yeah.
I would say budget reform with them. I would like to set a standard based on population, and then not allow them to, like, any tickets that they write or whatever wouldn't go back into that funding. So they wouldn't have any incentive, no quotas for tickets or anything like that. No incentive to bust certain people or write tickets for bullshit or anything like that. But you give them a set budget, and then they have to learn to work within those confines. I think that would be good. Obviously, demilitarization is a right up there on that list.
Close second.
Close second, yeah. But I think if you take away the incentive to the monetary incentive, it will lead to other things. I think that that's the main issue that we have right now. Everybody wants to, they want to bust somebody, or they want to get 100 dime bags and write those tickets because, that goes back into their funding, and et cetera, et cetera. I think that one thing that we messed up on, and a bunch, like, the leftists messed up on as well, is when we were talking about this police reform and redoing it, they started shouting the defund the police. I think that was a terrible slogan. Obviously that is part of what we want to do, but I think that if they did something more along the lines of reboot the police, and just change up their whole system, it would be a better system. Because the issue that we're going to have is, we as libertarians or ANCAPs or wherever you are in that, we seem to think that if we win a couple of elections, we can snap our fingers and the government will magically go away. But it's not going to be like that. You're going to have to penny plan it. You're going to have to do some incremental changes in order to get it adjusted. But ultimately, you would want to work towards a system that had some type of private police or police that were held more accountable to their municipality. I'm not necessarily of the privatize everything belief, but I can see where people go with that. I think that it just needs to be taken down to a municipal level, and it would be a lot better. But that's just my opinion on it. I don't have all the answers as far as that goes.
How dare you? Why do you not?
God damn it, Kevin.
I know. I
We thought you were gonna come with
know
all
I'm the worst
answers.
politician ever. What's Aleppo?
See? Oh God.
That's just a libertarian thing at this point. We have no idea what that. Most of the stuff east of the United States, it's
You know
all.
what? Why the fuck would a
It doesn't matter.
libertarian need to know what Aleppo is? Like, libertarians don't give a damn about foreign policy.
Yeah, we're all isolationists. Who cares?
We're all isolationists. We just want to be left alone in our
And we don't care about
bunker
borders.
in the desert.
We don't. Yeah. So isn't that so strange to me? I think that that's one of the most contradictory things within our party is everybody is isolationist. You know, we don't care about what happens in other countries, but we also don't want borders.
Yeah, I mean that's just how it works. It makes sense. If you don't think about it for a while, it does. If
you don't think about it for a while, it makes sense. Yeah, just don't think. Just don't think. Just listen to me. You sound stupid.
No, I don't know, man. I'm starting to lose my faith in a lot of shit these days.
Yeah, I was gonna say like just don't. You can't say something specific. It's just faith. I'm losing the faith.
I'm just losing the faith. I'm not losing the faith in liberty. I'm just losing the faith in. I think it's America. I think I'm preparing for it to just break.
I think for me, it's people. It's people in general.
Yeah. No. Yeah. They just whenever you like. Have you ever been in an elevator with somebody and you can just they're breathing and it's just. Can you not?
Yeah, can you not?
No, I'm not that bad yet. No, I'm not that bad yet. But like, I will.
This was me before all the shit started in the fan.
Some of the most doing shit, and I'm just like, oh my god, why are you worried about fucking fries? What the hell is wrong with you people?
I just remember there was a time when you started like. Whenever the Hong Kong stuff like was really heating up, there was not a day that would go by where you weren't fucking like crying about it. I was like, we got shit to do. You're crying about Hong Kong. I need you to stop.
I can't help it. It made me emotional. I started thinking about all the shit they were going through.
Yeah, well, fucking look at us now. It didn't take that long.
Yeah, I know. Look, we didn't have the same stuff happening here.
You got
also paying really close
down the street. It's the same thing.
Paying really close attention to what they were doing may pay off later.
Yeah, we have the Spartan umbrellas now.
I have umbrellas everywhere.
Dual wield umbrellas.
Well, I mean, no, there's a lot of. We got to see a lot of really interesting ideas and stuff that they did. One of my favorites was them fucking attaching bricks to the roads. That was.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was
attaching bricks to the roads.
Yeah, they attached bricks to the roads and like just at different intervals and stuff like that to make it hard to drive over and stuff. And like, you know, spray paint, like they definitely were like taking out all the cameras all the damn time constantly, but finding different ways to shield themselves and each other from the fucking gas and the fucking bullets. They've been
had
pretty
those
ingenious
buckets
in the stuff that they've
done.
They've
been really good about it, but I think we messed up because
we have copied some of their stuff too.
We have, but we weren't taking enough notes.
No. Like, there was a lot of people during that time going, pay close attention because we're going to need to know this later. And I was just like, okay. So I just watched everything they fucking did and was like, that is so cool. Oh my God, this is cool. Oh my God, look at what they're doing now. But it, you know, I don't know. I didn't actually think we'd be concerned about maybe having to use that stuff soon. I did not think that was going to happen.
I was a conspiracy theorist to you a year ago. Now you're over here like, we need to burn it all down. We need to leave the country.
The boat is definitely sinking, but we might still be able to get enough of the water out to get the pumps working. We might. And then like
Right.
nowadays I'm like, nope, everyone off the ship. Let's light it on fire as we get out. Like I don't think it's gonna fucking go backwards. Have we ever seen it like push forward like this and actually back up?
Very rarely. I think that there have been a couple of examples, but nothing outside of like a pushback, pretty hard pushback, you know. We are seeing some pushback in some other states. I think that what will happen is
there is some legal pushback that's
as
giving
these other
them hell
states
too.
continue to. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's also do what?
I think I'm lagging. Sorry.
You both are. It's terrible. It's fine.
Is it?
Yeah. It's fine. Just keep going.
I thought it was just me. Keep going, man. I thought it was just me.
I didn't even notice. Anyways, I think that what will happen is as other states open up, or you have states like South Dakota that didn't even close down. Once we kind of get past the election and all of that, you'll have certain states that will use that power to continue to increase or continue to use it as an excuse. But I think that what you'll see is a bigger influx to these states that didn't shut down, that are more open and stuff like that. Like you're seeing a pretty mass exodus out of California and Texas right now, even though Texas still did quite a bit of the mandates and stuff. But you can look at, you know, South Dakota is they're seeing a large influx right now. A lot of these other states. So I think that what you'll end up having is you'll have states that have better economies due to not shutting down. You'll have this and that will lead there. Now, the issue that is going to come from that is if you bring a lot of progressives out of these progressive states into other states, then they're still going to vote for progressive. Yeah.
I'm really curious as to what you think. Like, what is your number one issue? Like, as far as like this election cycle, what is your biggest thing that has you concerned and that you want fixed and you want reforms on?
For me, I think that we need to. For me, it comes down to the economy. I think that we need to lessen restrictions on a lot of different things, and if the economy was more open and we had more of a free market, it would solve a lot of issues that we deal with in our day-to-day. I'm also seriously concerned about the Fed and the upcoming hyperinflation. I think that we need to move away from this fiat currency that we're currently using. Whether we go to, I don't think the gold standard is feasible given the magnitude of our current economy, but you could do it based on all commodities combined or something like that. But this currency that we have right now is it's going to cause us problems in the future. I have a real fear of we're going to continue this hyperinflation of our current, continue to dilute it down, and eventually we won't be the world standard currency. And once that happens, it's going to be really, really bad for our economy. So I'm really.
Oh yeah, it's already starting to slide down. It's not looking good.
Yeah, it's starting to slide down. It's being held up right now by a couple of commodities, but it's my main concern right now is our currency and our economy. If we don't get our economy back on track and we don't start opening things back up, I think it's going to be really, really bad for us in the long run, because a lot of people don't realize how much the economy affects everything else, you know. Like I made some posts about it, but it's really funny to me that progressive just forgot that poverty kills people. So that's my biggest issue is getting the economy open back up, getting businesses back going. You know, I saw a thing on Yelp where 60% of businesses that closed due to the coronavirus response won't be opening back up. That's a pretty staggering number.
What do you think is the best way? What do you think is the best way to go about trying to push for these reopens and help help our communities do that and stuff like that? In your experience, have you seen anything working better out there, or got any scoops?
I've seen the way that things are working in like Montana and North Dakota. I mean, the businesses are open right now, and if the business has a mask mandate, if they want to do it, then, you know, people are following it. But I mean, everything's pretty much open, you know. I mean, you're seeing some spikes in the numbers, but a lot of that also comes from the way that they're counting the numbers. We started counting exposures instead of positive tests and things like that. But I think opening it back up and allowing these businesses to impose their own rules or whatever, that's the way to do it. But if we keep forcing these businesses to be closed, it's not going to help anybody in the long run.
Just the idea that 60%, you said 60%?
Yeah, that's what Yelp said.
I mean, that's just terrifying, though. I mean, they typically will say that the number one thing for like a strong economy, especially a middle class, is going to be, you know, entrepreneurs and stuff like that. It's not going to be the Walmarts and things like that close down due to all this stuff. It's going to be the small local stores that are closing down. That's businesses, that's employees, that's a whole bunch of money that's leaving the area.
Right.
Oh yeah, the big companies can afford
large
this shit.
Yeah, not only can they do it, but they also weren't shut down in the same way. If you look at states that did like big shutdowns, a lot of those large, you know, stores, the large supermarkets and stuff were allowed to stay open while a lot of the mom and pops were closed down. And I think that when you do things like that, you're discouraging entrepreneurship of the upcoming generations. You're also spreading this idea of, you know, when the economic impact of these things hit, you know, like right now we're not seeing these mass evictions and stuff because the government has came in and said landlords can't evict people even if they don't pay. Well, what you're going to see is the economic impact of that, not only on the landlords, but you're going to see a massive amount of evictions once this comes up, you know, because you can't, if you're a renter right now that's not paying, you can't sit there and think like, oh, well, the government's mandating that, you know, they can't kick me out, so I'm just not going to pay. Like that landlord's going to remember, because that landlord's got bills to pay too, you know. They're going to remember that you didn't pay them this whole time. So once we see this mass eviction, you're also going to see landlords who are going to be more stringent whenever they're taking applicants in for these apartments. You're going to have more housing crisis. You're going to have less people going into business for themselves. As these businesses continue to collapse, you're going to have less tax dollars going to these municipalities, which is going to in turn cause them to raise taxes on the wealthier people, the ones that maintain work and things like that. And it's going to be a pretty vicious cycle. I think that we're just now scratching the surface of the economic impact of these downturns. And once it really hits, it's really, really going to hurt us, because, you know, we argue all the time about social issues, because that's the main thing, you know, about like, well, you know, gay rights or this or that. Those things don't matter when people are starving to death. And that's a real thing that can happen if you have mass unemployment, if you have these things. Even like the current system that we have, this current social safety net, is not ready. It's not prepared for what we're going to see in the upcoming year or so. I mean, we've kind of inflated this for a while, you know. This bubble is getting ready to pop anyways, but now we've inflated it. We've overinflated it to that point. You know, I think that we do need to let the bubble pop and let the market resettle kind of in a Mises Hayek type way. But this economic impact is going to be something like we've never seen. You know, we had negative oil for the first time, which is that's never happened. It was wild. It was so crazy. But when you have things like that happen, it affects the whole economy. You have these ripple effects and all these different things that happen. But as these things continue to trickle down, because that's what's going to happen, you'll see it trickle down and ripple out. We're gonna have some major issues on our hands if we don't get the economy open and going quickly. And I know that the thing about it is, like, because of the way the Fed works and this fiat currency, it's like, well, we can just print more money and keep it going. But eventually, you've got to pay it, and we're either going to pay it with a massive economic collapse, or we're going to see a collapse of the dollar. And if we see a collapse of the dollar, that'll have a long-lasting impact on us just staying as a country. Because if countries are no longer using our currency as the world standard, then they don't owe us anything. Yeah. Right now we hold a lot of power because of that stature within the world economy. But if we're not the number one superpower anymore, if it becomes, say, China or India or Russia or OPEC or one of these, you know, groups, then we lost our number one foothold in the world.
I think I mean, I personally, I only got one more major question before we'll wrap up the episode. Do you think, Mike, your questions are important. Do you think sedition is possible? Like, do you think that we could essentially not necessarily have a civil war, but just having the nation splinter, where you have, basically, two smaller countries or four smaller countries? Do you think that's
What, like
something that could ever happen?
balkanization or something?
Oh, I think it's
Essentially, yeah.
definitely I think it's definitely something that could happen. I think that us ending up something like Europe, even if we did it to a point where, even if we did it to like kind of like the EU is, where we were united under this
more confederated
American whatever, but we split up. Yeah, more confederated. I think that that's entirely possible. I also think it's more likely a lot of people would think.
Yeah.
Obviously, when we had the Civil War and the government came in and said, well, you can't secede from the Union, that was a big thing, and that oftentimes gets tied to slavery and all that, so you don't really want to talk about it. But reality of it is that when the U.S. government launched their war against, when the Union launched their war against the Confederate States, that to me was it was a really, really bad thing, because it basically said that the states were being forced into being a part of this union. They sold it off as slavery, but really it was a power grab by the federal government, especially the executive branch.
Especially with the whole military occupation of the southern states.
Yes. Yeah, and the reparations and all that. I mean, the economic impact and all that stuff, it was it was a really negative thing overall. But I think that that's a lot more likely than a lot of people realize. I also don't think that, like, if you don't travel a lot, if you travel between different areas, you don't understand the stark differences between different areas of America. Somebody, like a rural farmer in Oklahoma has very, very little in common with somebody from, say, New York.
Right.
And so you have these very, very stark differences, these very, very different societies, very, very different beliefs and all of that.
That's
and we're only really held together.
I like traveling so much, because of how different people are in so many different fucking ways.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Yeah. It's really great to see interaction and cultural exchange like that. But one of the biggest issues that we have right now is we're trying to hold together too many groups under this one unified front, and it's not really working. You're seeing some splintering and stuff like that. So I think that I think it's very, very likely, whether it comes in the form of like a civil war. The thing about it is that we oftentimes think of like secession being a war because of the Civil War that we had, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. It could be a totally legal thing where it splits off. I don't think that will happen. I think that the federal government will definitely, make a big deal about it. But we're at the point right now where we're starting to see more people migrating to areas where more people believe in the things that they believe in and things like that. So I think, I don't know. I would say it's very possible. Maybe not in the next like 5 years or so, but the next 15 to 20 for sure. Yeah, depending on how a couple of elections go.
Yeah, I've always said it within my children's generation, it'll probably be something that's least realistically discussed then.
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
We can kind of see like a small taste of it with what we were talking about earlier with the cities and then the rural areas. Like, it's just starkly different voting patterns.
Yes, and I think that will eventually lead to, there's more animosity between those groups. And I think that as that animosity grows, that's what you're going to have. And there are good examples of that throughout history that aren't brought up. You have like the Green Corn Rebellion that happened in Oklahoma, where a group of rural farmers didn't like the way that the Industrial Revolution was being reflected on them, and how a lot of their land was being taken up by these conglomerates, these industrial conglomerates and stuff. And so there was a couple of people that went around preaching, the Communist Manifesto, and a group of farmers tried to rebel against the Oklahoma government. It's an actual thing you can read about in history. And I think that that's very likely to happen, especially in these smaller, like in these larger cities versus these smaller cities. I think that what is more likely to happen is you'll see a couple of cities secede from states before you'll see states secede from the union.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you look at, like, if you have like Austin, Texas, which is an ultra liberal town in the middle of a very conservative state.
Right.
So I think them being set up in like a city state type thing is way more likely at the first step. But I think it's entirely possible, especially if we can continue to see this mass migration that's happening right now.
Right. Well, do you have questions, Mike?
I did, but I forgot what it was. Oh, I was like, we were talking about reopening and stuff like that, and how COVID is and the overreach and stuff is like wrecking the economy and crap. What do you think about the anti-maskers angle out there? And do you think that they have a leg to stand on? Do you think it's just kind of crazy to just not want to wear a mask, or?
Well, I think
like,
if you actually like, I think there's a couple of different ways that you can look at it. As far as the data backing like mask mandates and stuff, it's, it doesn't really hold up. We don't really have a lot of evidence to suggest that, it does or it doesn't. I don't think that mask mandates are a good thing. I don't think that the government overreach as far as that goes is a good thing. If a private business wants me to wear a mask, then I'll wear a mask. Just because, like, if you don't want to, then you'll do business somewhere else. As far as going in and violating like private businesses by, like I've seen these groups that are going around to like Targets and marching with
going into the business and marching around.
Yeah, I think that those people, especially because a lot of them are right wing, more conservative types. I really, really wonder like what their opinion is on, like, would they bake the cake? Would they not bake the cake? Things like that, because they're essentially, when they're doing that, they're saying that, they don't give a shit about private business. They're going to override.
Well, yeah, it is hypocrisy. Because like I would totally not go in a place if I was feeling like it was a big deal. I would not go in if they didn't want me to do something there that I felt like I should be doing or not doing, right? I just be like, okay, well, I pass. I'm not gonna stomp up in somebody's place, and sometimes these people are like breaking stuff or ripping down signs and stuff like that, and that's their stuff. You got to leave it alone. Like, if you don't want to participate, you don't have to. We have the right to disassociate.
Yes, 100%.
And we have the right to choose where our dollar goes and things like that. But and a lot of people seem to be on that level out there from what I see, and some people in the anti-masker crowd are even saying things like it's not even about the mask, it's about the mandate.
Yeah, now the mandate is it's the mandate is just blatant government overreach, but I think if a private business is doing it, you either have to choose to disassociate or you have to uphold it. There's no in between.
But if the business is feeling forced to do it because of the mandates and shit like that, that's not right though. And a lot of businesses are just feeling forced to comply. Like they don't want to be fined. Well, it's a shakedown. They have to follow the rules or they're gonna get fined, they're gonna come in and take some of their money. And man, it's bad enough as it is already.
Right.
But I mean, it's man, they are setting up these perfectly divisive, polarized situations, no matter what, that you can't actually there is no real right or wrong on some of these situations,
Yeah, it makes it hard to. Yes, it makes it hard to pick a side, because each side has their own arguments, and a lot of the things, especially with the COVID deal, is there's so little data that each side can draw their own conclusions, because you can't really point to one thing or another. You can say, well, if you look at the death statistics, it kills less than 1%, but less than 1%, that's still quite a bit of people. So there's, those are the arguments, and then more people are more affected by it. And the thing that I think is the worst about it is that the media, the groups are spinning it, and they're playing into people's better halves, really. Because if you have like the anti-maskers are that way because they're trying to go against government overreach, against the government flexing too much power. And then you have the maskers, and they're doing it because, their groups are saying that this is the way to prevent people from getting sick. So what you're looking at is it all goes back to dinosaur politics. Great big hearts, little bitty brains.
Well, it's crazy because like
that thing,
the anti-masker. Oh, whoops, sorry. What was that last bit?
Go, you got it.
What was that last bit? It got jumbled.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, neither side is going into it with nefarious intentions.
Well, I mean, and it's weird how it is because, like, I'll go to multiple different types of group things here in the community, specifically in this area, and like we have anti-maskers who are like, well, freedom is important and we can't have overreach and the government needs to stay out of our business and we're not going to take any vaccines and shit, right? And they're talking about how the police are hassling them over all this shit and how the police are not how the police are upholding these unconstitutional laws and crap, right? And they're mad about it. And then you have like the BLM people, which are not actually with the organization. It's just different groups and stuff that are all working towards things in the community and crap. But like, they're all upset about police overreach and stuff, police and overreach and everything. They're all upset about the same damn thing in a different fucking flavor. But you'll notice that they all they think like, I don't know about as much with the Black Lives Matter side of things. They're kind of leery of anyone who's white that has a gun, and I kind of understand why. Yeah. Like, fuck this shit at this point. But like, we have people on the masker side, the anti-masker side, that are like, well, the Black Lives Matter people are against us and all of this is a communist plot. And I'm like, oh no, wait a minute. Who fucking told you that? They don't even care about you. Like, they're not talking about you. In fact, you guys are all bitching about the same kind of fucking things. And imagine how much of a giant crowd we could get if we had us all here at the same time. But they won't do that because there's a media spin out there that's making them believe that there's a side to be had.
Yes, and Paxton and I were talking about that before you came on. That the issue is that,
did I miss it?
The issue is that each side identifies the other as the ultimate have-all, be-all, evil bad guy. When in reality, everybody's a bad guy in somebody else's story. But the real bad guy is the authoritarian. That side, the people that are using the government to control other people.
Exactly. I think I'm out of questions. I've had a really long day. I hope you guys had a good one.
Fuck.
It was nice to talk to you again, Kevin. It's been a while. We'll have to do this more often instead of let it be a long time next time.
Yeah.
You should come in like anytime you have a time on a Monday and you're not busy. Anytime you're not busy on a Monday, hit us up. Just pop in. Yeah, like, because we have this thing where we have guests and we just talk about current events and stuff like that. Sometimes we play clips and things from the news and junk.
Yeah, I'll be sure and hop in. I've got some free time now.
Now that like certain like school years are starting and stuff, we've lost some of our team temporarily. So like inviting guests is always making it way more fun. So definitely pop in and join us. We've had Jay come in a couple of times too now.
Yeah,
he's always a pleasure to have. I always feel like such a wild. I'm one of the kindergartners. Like from the what is that freaking cartoon? Where the kindergartners, they're like little indigenous creatures.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, what is that?
Indigenous creatures. I don't know what to call them. Recess. I'm like the kindergartner from Recess. He made a meme the last time he came on. It was great. But yeah, I mean, like, definitely, the more the merrier. It'd be great to have you.
But
do you want to do the spiel? What?
Do what?
What were you saying, Kevin?
Oh, I was gonna say I'll see about working Ashley's schedule so she can come on next time. She was pretty upset that she didn't get to come this time, but she's still on Pacific time. So
I gotcha.
Hey, we can totally schedule again. It's not that big of a deal. Like, we like to do this all the time. So, like,
right.
we'll just catch a day and jump on the LiberTEA bus. No, we don't have a bus. Don't let us drive.
Yeah, right.
He drinks too much while we're doing this, and I'm smoking weed. We should not be driving.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching.
We forgot to ask. Do you have anything you want to plug before we go? Like anything
What do you
cool
think
going
I was
on?
gonna
Or
do, Mike? God damn it! I know what I'm doing. I've only been doing this for almost a full year now.
I'm just gonna bowl through all the decor and just be like, "Hey, what you got, Kevin? Share what you got."
Yeah, everybody go follow Todd Hagopian. His run for corporation commissioner is doing really well.
Father.
He's the Todd father. Yeah, he's so great. Go check him out. His run for corporation commissioner in Oklahoma is going really well. He's actually trending ahead of the Republican that he's running against right now. He's going to have the first televised ads for libertarians in Oklahoma, which is a really big deal for us. So we're pretty pumped about that. My friend Corey DeAngelos just dropped his book, School Choice Myths, Dispelling School Choice Myths.
I think I saw that on Twitter earlier.
Yeah, just dropped on Amazon.
Grab a link so we can toss it in the thing.
Okay, yeah. I retweeted it, shared it, but it just dropped on Amazon. I think it's trending. So check that out. Also, my Twitter handler at Hobbie Real. Follow OKLP at OKLP.
What's your OnlyFans account?
I don't have your OnlyFans yet. I don't have. Oil hasn't got that low. Oil hasn't got that low for that long, you know. So.
Well, if you ever want to run for office, gotta get that.
No, I recently found out because of my tweet that if I was a gay man and had an OnlyFans, I'd be raking in the cash.
Dude, I mean, right?
Yeah, you probably would. Yeah, I could see that. I don't understand why more Liberty dudes don't have OnlyFans.
Real quick before we go, I want to tell a funny story involving gay men because it's funny.
Oh no!
So I was at the bar with my best friend at the time, and we're just sitting there having a couple of beers, and a dude comes up to me and starts hitting on me. Right at the time, I didn't realize it. I just thought it was some weird dude complimenting me because dudes don't usually just walk up to each other and compliment each other, and so I didn't realize that at all. And so I'm just like very short, and I'm very antisocial as is, so I'm short with them even more so. And so eventually he gives up trying to get in my pants and he walks away. And my friend goes, "I think he was hitting on you." I was like, "What? No way." And then he is really quiet for a second. He goes, "Why didn't he hit on me?"
That's great.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Now we can talk about money.
You man magnet.
Yep.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. And we'll make sure we get all those links and stuff down below.
Cointree, give us money. Buy our shirts. We're trying to save money up for a wood chipper.
We have a brand new cool shirt. It says "Shoot the Cops," but it's got cameras for the O's.
Yeah.
And encourages you to be a cop watcher for your neighborhood.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Oh, actually, we have a thing for it.
Yeah, we do it. There it is, right there. Have it.
Oh, no, that's awesome.
Holy crap! That took 5 years to load for me. I hope that came up much faster for you guys.
No, it was quick on my end.
This is beautiful shirt. This is beautiful, and it comes in mask form for you people who aren't anti-maskers, or people who just like their privacy.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being on, Kevin. We will talk to you guys next time. You guys have a nice night.
You guys be safe and free.